Expressive typography. 2025's buzzword for graphic designers everywhere. For me, it sounds like nonsense since most of the typography that we use is meant to be expressive, I guess. But hey, I'm only here to cash in on this buzzword with my YouTube channel.
Dreadlabs.
Just kidding, of course. What's going on, everyone? My name is Tom from Dreadlabs and I'm a visual artist and graphic designer. In today's video, I want to give you some tips on how to actually create expressive typography. And without any further ado, let's dive straight into the video. So the first tip that I have for you is take your time to discover type foundries and typography designers. And what I mean by this is rather than browsing Adobe fonts or, God forbid, DaFont, try to look for specific type foundries themselves. These foundries or independent typography designers often share fonts that you cannot find anywhere else on any big website. Some foundries that I discovered throughout the years are Velveteen and Typelab. Both are French, I think. There's a lot more that I found, but these two come to mind instantly. And some independent typography designers that have quite some interesting fonts themselves to me are Domenico Barreto and Hologram. And I've probably butchered all of these names, but if you want to check them out, I'll put a link down in the description below. So tip number 2 is when searching for a font, look for unique, subtle features. This is especially important with typography used in big blocks of text, like paragraphs on a website or in an editorial. A lot of expressive typography is often really hard to read, which is of course completely fine because most of these will be used as display types for logos or title cards or something like that. For the actual important information that you have to come across is of course really important to have a font that has really good legibility. A good example of a legible font that still has some unique features in my opinion is Degular by Ono Typeco. The way that the roundings end in a tapered manner is in my opinion quite unique compared to other fonts for a website. This way you can still come across expressive without giving your users a seizure when they're trying to read the about section on your website. Another thing you can do to spice up your typography is to add effects to it. In Illustrator or Photoshop you can do all kinds of crazy stuff to your fonts like the warp function, or maybe you want to play around with a variety of slants and weights in one title. Anything is possible, of course. Or what about the shameless plug to TypeMeld? TypeMeld is a quick and easy Photoshop action you can use to melt your text together. This softens the hard pointed corners and rounds them off a little bit, and parts where the text are really close together, you will melt them together, like glue. And of course in the end you will still be left with a hard edge around your text. TypeMeld comes with two actions, one that's really quick and easy and the other one where you have a lot more control over where the rounding, the melting and the blurring takes place. TypeMeld is also my cheapest asset pack on my website, going for less than the average cup of coffee in my country. So if you do want to support the channel but not enough to buy me a coffee, get TypeMeld for yourself on dreadlabs.net. Anyways, regardless of the text that you use, be sure to learn the basics of lettering so you can break those rules by applying all kinds of effects to it. Sometimes the expressive part of typography isn't really within a font alone, but a combination of two fonts together. A trend that I've seen very often is to combine a really nice script font with a sans serif font. But of course you can find your own fonts that you think work really well together and express yourself in that way. The key is to find a contrast between these two types and then build a connection between them. Finally, the last tip on this list is a little bit of a different one, I guess. I've seen so many people throughout the years complaining when they have to pay $500 for a font and how that's even possible and that it's ridiculous. And while I do think that $500 for a piece of typography that a typography designer might have worked years on to complete isn't even that much if you think about it, the other reason is that the price of the font in itself is also a type of exclusivity. If you pay $500 for a font, there's of course a big chance that not a lot of other designers actually have this font themselves too. And that makes you one of the few designers that's actually able to design cool stuff with that font. It's basically the same as driving an Audi or wearing a Rolex. You want to express yourself and show people that you're actually able to use, wear or drive a certain product. Something that others maybe can't or wouldn't do. And that way you express yourself in a more unique way and you differentiate yourself from others. And of course, I don't mean with this just buy expensive stuff and you'll be unique. I'm just explaining why some fonts are just really expensive. They rather have a few designers work with it rather than selling as many copies as possible and make it an average font that everyone can use. And an alternative way to find some fonts that a lot of people aren't really using yet is to find those independent typography designers and foundries that a lot of people haven't discovered yet. That way you'll be unique, at first at least. So there you have it guys, 5 tips on expressive typography. I hope these tips felt useful to you, and if you have any tips yourself that you want to add, feel free to leave them down in the comments below to help other people out and express themselves. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you have not done that already, because I have a ton of videos on graphic design, freelancing, and there's probably at least 1 or more videos on my channel that you find useful. So I highly recommend you check it out. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Tom from Dreadlabs, tuning out, and hopefully see you guys in the next one.